Welcome back to another episode of Your Life by Design. And it feels weird saying welcome to Your Life by Design because for such a long time, like 2.5 months, I was saying welcome to the Expansion Evolution Project. But we are back in the Your Life by Design podcast, and I'm so ready to bring you more of the podcast, more of what reason why I set out with this podcast, more juicy topics, more things to talk about to help you design your own life. And when we start designing our own life, when we start calling in things that we want that's different from what we have, or when our life starts reflecting that and looks a little different, feels a little different, we may wrestle with imposter syndrome. So today I want to talk about imposter syndrome. It is a very common feeling. It's something we all struggle with, especially when you are doing something new or when you are starting to get recognition of something that you are doing. You start questioning, like, do I know enough? Who am I to be talking about this? There are more people that are better than me. If you experience any of that, you know what I'm talking about. Imposter syndrome. It even happens with highly successful people. Anytime you upgrade, up level, shift, change, you might be wrestling with those feelings that are synonymous with imposter syndrome. There was this explanation of it that I heard from, I believe it was Andrea Crowder, who is an incredible coach. You can find her on Instagram. I think it's love_Andrea Crowder. She's really big into the RRT world, rapid resolution therapy, which you've listened to last week's episode. You would have heard me talk about that, or I think it might have been 2 weeks ago from this episode. But she says that imposter syndrome is actually a good thing because it means that you are growing. It means that you are actually growing outside of the comfort zone. You can't grow within the container of comfort. You have to feel like you have to be able to make that shift, right? There sometimes it's like that pressure. It's that whole concept of meet your edge where you have to feel that expansion being almost pulled to the other side where your expansion, your evolution resides. And in that moment where you're like self-doubt or even questioning it, this is what I want to do, this is the direction I go, and you have a decision to either keep going and then meet that evolution, meet that expansion, or stay where you are. If you are going and meeting that expansion, you are expanding, you are evolving, you are changing. And that often happens with the feeling of imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome, a way to look at it is you're growing, you are evolving. And so, how can we shift our perspective? How can we move through those uncomfortable feelings so we can feel empowered, so we feel that we are worthy of what we're sharing, of our knowledge, that we are worthy of the success that we are getting, that it's okay to do something different. When moving through imposter syndrome, there's a commitment to moving through uncomfortable feelings that come up. There's a commitment to gaining this inherent knowledge that you are worthy of that success. There's a commitment of knowing that with expansion and evolution, you're going to be uncomfortable. And this is what I want to talk about. I looked up a definition of imposter syndrome, and it said self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high achieving individuals, right? Basically, like of people who are doing something different, who are growing, who are expanding, who are evolving. They experience self-doubt, they experience self-doubt of their skills, of their knowledge. When I looked it up, it said it's a phenomenon. It's the phenomenon of self-doubt. Phenomenon to me means it's something that happens, but no one really knows why. I know why this happens. And it's because your identity doesn't match up with it. It's because you haven't embodied the identity of the person who is doing this. And so there is this disconnect. Where does that identity come from? Let's back up a little bit, because if you are someone who is expanding either within your current field of what you're doing, or you're wanting to change something new, you are leaving an identity that you've known. So maybe you have been doing something one way, and then you expand on your skills, and then maybe you're going to charge more for it. That's a different identity than someone who's charging a certain price, or that was a different identity of someone who was acting a certain way before they developed those new skills. Or you're wanting to do something different, move on to something different. That's a new identity from what you were doing before. Whenever there's a shift in identity, it's going to be uncomfortable because your subconscious mind hasn't resonated with that identity. Your subconscious mind is still thinking that and operating the former identity. Let me talk to you a little bit about our two minds. We have an advanced mind and we have a primitive mind we share with animals. All animals have it, right? We have it, but we also have advanced mind, which makes us different from animals. With advanced mind, we can think of the past, we can think of the future, we can analyze the past. With the primitive mind, we're only in the moment. We're only operating in that now, in that moment. And our identity is formed within the first 7 years. So whatever identity you have in that first 7 years, it builds upon. And what I often say is you have this framework, that this filter that's created within the first 7 years, and then you have experiences that solidify, like serve as evidence to solidify the evidence even more. Your life becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because your beliefs, your ideas, your concept of self basically brings in experiences, and you will only see things that match that filter, right? That'll only match that filter that you have. Same thing as like you walk outside and then you're seeing just random cars driving, and all of a sudden like you're wanting to get a certain car, like a blue Audi Q7, and then next thing you know, Audi Q7s, blue Audi Q7s. There aren't more blue Audi Q7s on the road all of a sudden. Your filter has changed. Therefore, your subconscious mind is looking for things to confirm that filter. So you have this identity, and your identity is made up of beliefs and thoughts and feelings towards things. And your thoughts create feelings. So if you were to see, let's take the primitive mind that helps create these feelings. If a zebra were to see a lion, the subconscious mind will be like, oh crap, there's a lion, we need to run. And so what the subconscious mind does, it interprets the data that they're seeing from this lion, takes the blood from the brain, runs it to your legs, and then that lion, or rather that zebra, is running. The only thing that zebra is really worried about is not outrunning the lion, but outrunning the slowest zebra. Once that zebra is out of harm's way, it goes back to grazing on the grass. It goes back to just living life, right? Living the safari life. And if you were to go to that zebra and say that was a crazy lion, the zebra's response would probably be like, what lion? Because it lives in the now. As humans, we have our advanced mind, which makes us able to be amazing and brilliant, and what makes us human, right? We're able to look at the past, and we're able to analyze, and we're able to extrapolate lessons, and we're able to apply that to the future. We're able to think of the future how we want to be. But anytime we think of something and how it should be, or how we wanted it to be, or if it's recalling something in the past where maybe not a really good feeling, the subconscious mind doesn't know that what you're thinking of is in the past, because it only knows in right now. So if you're talking about expanding and evolving, and your conscious mind is, I don't know if this is something I should be doing, your subconscious mind is then going to create those feelings of uncomfortableness, because in that moment, all it knows is that you shouldn't be doing that. Your identity hasn't shifted. You haven't embodied that identity to meet where you are. You haven't embodied that identity of someone who's doing that thing. So it's creating the feelings of self-doubt, of intellect, skills, and accomplishments, because the identity hasn't met with it. Taking a human design approach to it, if you look at your G center in your human design chart, G center is all about identity and love. If you have an undefined or open G center, depending if it's undefined, let's take open. If you don't have any gates activated in it at all, there could be a feeling of not quite knowing who you are and almost going through life attaching, almost like being a chameleon, like attaching to things. So you can take on conditioning and programs of how you should be or how you think you should be. And that helps create that identity. And if you begin to challenge it, again, it's going to be uncomfortable because you're challenging your whole being, right? If you take a defined G center, There could also be this, I'm going to do it one way. This is the way I've always done it. And now you're changing the way you've done it. So again, it's going to create a discomfort or a disconnect in the feelings. Imposter syndrome isn't bad. Imposter syndrome is an indication that, again, you're growing. If you're feeling those feelings of, I'm not quite sure if I should be doing this, or I don't know if I don't, whenever I think about changing, I think I'm crazy to even want to do something different. What I want you to ask yourself is, what would life be like if you didn't do it? Or what would life be like if you did do it? How I often move through those feelings is if I picture myself being 90 years old and I'm like on my deathbed looking back, would I have regretted moving through things, or would I have been like so grateful that I was able to like move through those feelings? The only way to move through that feeling of imposter syndrome is to move through it, is to teach the subconscious mind that there's no fear, there's nothing to be scared of. If you are afraid of something, the only way to move through it is actually to do it, or even go above and beyond. Let's say you have a speech, right? If you're not a speaker, if you don't identify as a speaker and you have to make a speech, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, who do I think I am? I'm making this speech. The best thing to do is probably to purposely mess up on stage, to prove to yourself that you didn't die, to prove to yourself that you're alive. Because to the subconscious mind, when things are different, when things shift, it can feel like the world is ending, because to your ego, it's all about safety and all about familiarity. And so what I'll leave you with is this: if you have big desires and big dreams and big visions, and where you are right now is for whatever reason not feeling fulfilling to you, and you are ready to step into those big dreams, big desires, big visions, and to feel fulfilled, you're going to have feelings of uncomfortableness as you move through it. But as you begin to move through it, clear the subconscious mind and lock in this knowingness that you are worthy of everything that you're calling in, you won't feel as an imposter until you begin to upgrade and shift again. Thanks for listening. I will see you on the next episode. Bye.